Good afternoon, students. Students, yesterday we have completed some portion of your chapter Lost Spring. Now, before I continue, I just want you to focus on the vocabulary portion. See, when we are in language learning and that too English, obviously your focus should be to learn new vocabularies, and after learning new vocabularies you should be able to use that vocabulary when you use that particular language. So yesterday the main words that I want you to learn is, first is glibly. The author said, or the author asked Sahib that when she opens a school, will he be going to attend her school? And she asked in a very, in a glibly manner. Glibly means, again, she did not even uh, think what she was saying, that opening a school, how difficult it is or how much time it takes. Thoughtlessly she spoke that. So glibly is thoughtlessly. Second word that I want you to focus on is bleak. Though it is a bit common word, bleak is very dark, dull. You keep on noting these words. Third word is shuffle. Shuffle, when we shuffle, when we move, okay, move slowly, that is shuffling. Shuffling from one place to another. Next word is desolation, loneliness. It is again a common word. When something is ruined, then also it is desolated. Another word is squatters. This is a word which is used in connection with Mukesh family and the other people who were living in Simapuri. They were all squatters. Now, squatters, in what sense they were squatters? See, these family, they moved from Dhaka, moved to the periphery of the outskirts of Delhi. They did not buy land there, obviously, because they were short of money. They did not have money. They pitched their tent, they made their hut there to live in, not legally. But see, you cannot use the word illegally also, because they were not doing some sort of crime. Just to fulfill their needs, they pitched their tent there. So they are called squatters. Okay, so Sahib and his family and other people who were living there, they are called squatters. So this word squatter. Then one more word was there, scrounging. The rat pickers, they were scrounging for gold. Scrounging here again means what they were trying to do in the heap of garbage, or near the heap of garbage. Basically what they were trying to find out something valuable, something which could uh, allow them to earn some money to fulfill their basic needs, right? So they were scrounging for gold, and again I told you that gold here is not literally gold, that means that metal, but here gold is something valuable, something which could be sold in the market by them, and then which could fetch them some money. So this was the vocabulary portion. Now let us continue the chapter. We are on page number 15, students. So before, when you see this video, keep this text before you so that you are able to understand the chapter better. Okay, now Sahib is talking to the author, and then he says that I sometimes find a rupee, even a 10 rupee note. Sahib says his eyes lighting up, brightening up with happiness, that sometimes even not only a single rupee, but sometimes he finds even a 10 rupee note. When you can find a silver coin in a heap of garbage, you don't stop scrounging, for there is hope of finding more. Okay, fine. Today you have got this much or just you have found a 10 rupee note, maybe you will find something more. So you keep on scrounging more and more. It seems that for children, garbage has a meaning different from what it means to their parents. Underline these lines: for the children it is wrapped, it is covered in wonder; for the elders it is a means of survival. See, the elders are also rag pickers, but for the elders their focus is towards how to survive. That is the basic medium for them to earn a livelihood. For the children, it is wrapped in wonder. They enjoy their doing rag picking. Sometimes they find something and they buy something what they want, they need. So for children, it is wrapped in wonder. For elders, it is a means of survival. Okay, so this is the difference of rag picking. What is the difference of rag picking between children and elders, or how children's look to uh, rag picking, and how for elders what is rag picking? For elders it is a means of survival. For children this whole activity is wrapped in wonder. You also might have seen there are group of children, say 10 or 12 years old, and they have been enjoying even talking in groups and finding something, putting in their bags, and they spend their whole day. Now, next paragraph. One winter morning, I see Sahib standing by the fenced gate of the neighborhood club, watching two young men dressed in white playing tennis. Tennis, here she is referring to lawn tennis, not table tennis, lawn tennis. I like the game. He hums, he mutters, he says, content, satisfied to watch it standing behind the fence. See, he is not even disturbed that he is not able to play that game. Obviously, tennis is game of rich. Today also it is considered as game of rich. But this fellow Sahib, he is content. He's satisfied to watch it standing behind the fence. And then again he says that I go inside when there is no one around. Inside where? In the tennis court. And he admits that when nobody is watching him, he goes inside the tennis court. The gatekeeper lets me use the swing. Sahib too is wearing tennis shoes that look strange over his discolored shirt and shorts. Tennis shoes are not matching with his attire, with his clothes. And then he says that someone gave it to me. He says in the manner of an explanation that somebody gave me the shoes. The fact that they are discarded shoes. See, they are not bought by Sahib, they are discarded by some rich boy. They may have been thrown away by some rich boy, or maybe the rich boy was fed up using those shoes, so have given it to. Now, so the fact that they are discarded shoes of some rich boy who perhaps refused to wear them because of a hole in one of them does not bother him. Does not bother Sahib that there is a hole in the shoe. For him, what is the source of happiness? That he is wearing tennis shoes. See the difference, students. And this is what life is. You have to concentrate on the fact that Sahib was not unhappy that he was not wearing new shoes. Even the shoes that he was wearing had a hole, but it did not bother him at all, and he was happy. So he says, in the manner of an explanation, the fact that they are discarded shoes of some rich boy who perhaps refused to wear them because of a hole in one of them, but that did not bother him, or one who had walked barefoot. Now, why the reason that it made him happy is, this is the 2 mark question, and the answer is the fact that those, for one, who have walked barefoot, even shoes with a hole, is a dream come true. But the game he is watching so intently, with lot of focus is out of his reach. And this, again, there is a shift in the story. Pay attention. This morning, Sahib is on his way to the milk booth. In his hand is a steel canister, okay, in which one carries milk. I now work in a tea stall down the road, he says, pointing in the distance. He was pointing towards some place and he said, I work in that tea stall. I am paid rupees 800 and all my meals twice a day or thrice a day. He says that 800 rupees plus meals. Does he like the job? I ask. His face, I see, has lost the carefree look. Underline this, student. This time a question was also there from this very portion of the lesson, that the change has come. Now he is not a rag picker. He is earning 800 rupees a month. He is earning his meal, but still, was he happy? This is the answer. He says that the author says, I see he has lost the carefree look. The steel canister seems heavier than the plastic bag he would carry so lightly over his shoulder. There is a comparison between the steel canister, the milk canister, and the bag which he used to carry on his shoulder for rack picking. The steel canister seems heavier. Now, it is heavier in what sense? Don't think that it is only in the sense that by weight it is heavier. It is heavier in the sense that steel canister has posed a lot of responsibility on the shoulders of Sahib. And that is why that rack picking bag, the bag which he used for rack picking, was much lighter than the steel canister. Okay. So, this is what the author has observed, that he has lost his carefree look. He has lost that independence that he used to enjoy as a rag picker. Now, wait, yes, yes, student. So, I see he has lost his carefree look. The steel canister seems heavier than the plastic bag he would carry so lightly over his shoulders. The bag was his. Underline this. With his bag, he was independent. So the bag was his, the canister belongs to the man who owns the tea shop, and the gist is that Sahib is no longer his own master. So basically, he has lost his way of living, the manner in which he enjoyed his time, he enjoyed with his friends, that he has lost. The fact that even he was earning money that did not made him so happy. Why? Single line the author has used, that Sahib is no longer his own master. Underline this. You may get a question on this. Okay. Now we move on to the other part of the story. See, students, this part was based on drag pickers. The second part is based on uh, the family lineage. What is lineage? See, in our country, there are many type of work or profession which is forwarded from one generation to the another generation, right? So, family lineage otherwise means ancestry, but in profession also, we have seen that what the father used to do, his children, they used to do, and then it was forwarded from one generation to the other generation. So that is also lineage. Here it is based on the family profession of bangle makers. Now, students, A simple question when I ask you that which city in India is famous for bangle making, that is Firozabad in Uttar Pradesh, right? Even if you, after going through this chapter, if you have a bangle box, just see to it, Firozabad is written on, especially the glass bangles. Okay, glass bangles are basically made in Firozabad, and still today, it is being made. So this chapter deals with in what condition the bangle makers are engaged in bangle making. Even their children are involved in this profession, and do they have, the children have other aspirations to follow? Do they want to do something else? That we have to focus on. Here, the central character is Mukesh. Now, come on to the lesson, and the title of this portion is I Want to Drive a Car. Simply, it suggests that Mukesh does not want to carry on his family lineage, the family profession. He wants to drive a car. That was his aspiration. Now, Mukesh insists on being his own master. He wanted to be his own master. I will be a motor mechanic, he announced. I want to be a motor mechanic. I want to repair motors, cars, machines in the cars, and all. Do you know anything about cars? The author asks. I will learn to drive a car. He answers, looking straight into my eyes. He says, if I don't know anything about car, I will first learn driving a car. His dreams looms like a mirage amidst the dust of streets that fill his town, Firozabad, famous for its bangles. Yes. Underline this line. His dreams looms like a mirage amidst the dust of streets that fill his town, Firozabad. Now, see students, looms basically is when something looms, that is appearing to be there, hovering like something, but his dreams here looms like a mirage. Now, what is a mirage? See, if you have traveled on road during a hot summer day, you might see that there is a patch of water on the road, and when you reach that place, there is no water. It just appears to be. So that is mirage. Okay, now because he belongs to a poor family of bangle makers, he wants to be a motor mechanic. Before that, he wants car driving. So the author says his dreams looks like a mirage amidst the dust of streets. How the streets are described, the dust of streets that fills the town Firozabad, that is famous for bangle making. Every other family in Firozabad is engaged in making bangles. It is the center of India's glass blowing industry. Means glass bangles are basically made in Firozabad, where families have spent generations working around furnaces, building glass, making bangles for all the women in the land. It seems they are welding the glasses, they are joining the glasses, they are making it in spiral shapes and all. Mukesh family is one among them. None of them know that it is illegal for children like him. It is illegal for children like him to work in the glass furnace with high temperature in small, dingy cells, dark cells without air and light. That the law, if enforced, could get him and all those 20,000 children out of the hot furnace where they slog, where they spend their daylight hours, where they slog their daylight hours. Here, slog is where they sweat, where they toil hard, where they work hard throughout their day. Daylight hours means they spend their daylight hours toiling hard to make bangles. So, slog their daylight hours. Underline this phrase and write the meaning. Slog their daylight hours means they spend their toil in this daylight hours, often losing their brightness of their eyes. And sometimes their eyesight becomes weak because of working in those dingy small cells Dark cells. Mukesh eyes beam as he volunteers to take me home. And when Mukesh meets the author, his eyes beam, shines because he is taking the author to his home. So beaming in the eyes means there is shine in the eyes, and he takes up the responsibility of volunteering the author to his home, which he proudly says is being built. His home is built. That is a matter of pride for him. Okay. Again, this word proud students, proudy is a very common word among in spoken English, which is incorrect. Okay, proudy is as such no word. Pay attention toward this. Okay, now come on to the lesson, which he proudly says is being built. We walk down stinking lanes. Stinking is a common word, smelling bad. Stinking lanes choked with garbage, past homes that remain hovels with crumbling walls. Yes. So, how are the homes and that particular lane described? That you have to pay attention towards. You may get 2 marks questions from there. So, lanes were stinking. Stinking lanes choked with garbage past homes that remains hovels. Hovels with crumbling walls. Hovels again means dirty small homes with crumbling walls, as if it was the walls of the house would fall. So that is called crumbling walls. Wobbly doors. Again, the doors are not properly fixed. It is wobbly. It is moving. No windows. Crowded with families of humans and animals coexisting in primeval state. Primeval state. In primeval. Primeval means in a very ancient way, or you can say primitive way, they were living their lives. See, today also you might have heard in news that the migrant workers, they are trying their best, they are trying very hard to reach to their native places. Students, why? Because again they are living in a very small rooms, 7 to 8 people in a room. So this is the condition, and that is why they are saying that they are not able to maintain social distancing even if they are living at the same place where they used to live, because now they are not going outside for work. Anyways, come on to the lesson. He says that there were wobbly doors, no windows, crowded with families of humans and animal coexisting in a primeval, in a primitive state. He stops at the door. Who is here? He is Mukesh. He stops at the door of one such house, bangs a wobbly iron door. Banging is again producing sound. Bangs a wobbly iron door with his foot and pushes it open. We enter a half-built shack, half-built house. In one part of it, thatched with dead grass, roofed with dead grass, in a firewood stove over which sits a very big, large utensil, large vessel of sizzling spinach leaves. Sizzling means maybe it was cooking and producing sound. On the ground, in large aluminium platter plate, are more chopped vegetables. A frail, very thin, weak young woman is cooking the evening meal for the whole family through eyes filled with smoke. She smiles because she was obviously cooking on a chulha. Okay, that stove, that Indian stove where the firewood is used, that wood is used, that is called chula, and it produces a lot of smoke. So obviously her eyes were filled with smoke, but still she smiles. Who is she? She is the wife of Mukesh's elder brother, not much older in years. She has begun to command respect as a bahu. Okay, this is again one of the Indian traditions that bahu or the daughter-in-law in the house, they are respected. So she commands respect as the bahu, the daughter-in-law of the house, already in charge of 3 men, means she has to cook and look after 3 men: her husband, Mukesh, and their father. When the older man enters, she gently withdraws behind the broken wall and brings her veil closer to her face. Yes, again, this is the tradition of Indian rural society that is being described by the author. That when the elder man he enters into the house, she just tries to hide her face, and she draws her veil. Veil is that in Hindi what you call ghungat. Okay, so she brings the veil. I told you veil is ghungat closer to her face as custom demands. Daughter-in-law must veil, must cover their faces before male elders because it is in custom. Okay, if you get to my question, ki why she puts her veil closer, because it is the demand of the custom that before elder male members, women and especially daughters-in-law, they have to cover their face. Now, despite long years, sorry, as custom demands, daughters-in-law must veil, must cover their faces before male elders. In this case, the elder is an impoverished bangle maker. Who is the elder? Impoverished man, poor man, not rich man. He is an impoverished bangle maker despite long years of hard labor. Means he was into bangle making not for only 1 or 2 years, for long years, number of years. So, despite long years of hard labor, first as a tailor, then a bangle maker, he has failed to even renovate a house, sends his two sons to school. All he managed to do is teach them what he knows, the art of bangle making. Again, I told you that the family's profession passes on to the next generation. So he is happy that he has passed on to his both sons what he had taught them, what the art of bangle making. Okay, students.